Hello, it is Ryan, and we could all use an extra bright spot in our day, couldn't we? Just to make up for things like sitting in traffic, doing the dishes, counting your steps, you know, all the mundane stuff. That is why I'm such a big fan of Chumba Casino. Chumba Casino has all your favorite social casino-style games that you can play for free anytime, anywhere with daily bonuses. That should brighten your day a little. Actually, a lot. So sign up now at ChumbaCasino.com. That's ChumbaCasino.com.
No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. See terms and conditions. 18+.
You just realized your business needed to hire someone yesterday. How can you find amazing candidates fast? Easy. Just use Indeed. Stop struggling to get your job post seen on other job sites. With Indeed sponsored jobs, your post jumps to the top of the page for your relevant candidates, so you can reach the people you want faster. According to Indeed data, sponsored jobs posted directly on Indeed have 45% more applications than non-sponsored jobs. Don't wait any longer. Speed up your hiring right now with Indeed. And listeners of this show will get a $75 sponsored job credit to get your jobs more visibility at Indeed.com/ARTS. Just go to Indeed.com/ARTS right now and support our show by saying you heard about Indeed on this podcast. Terms and conditions apply. Hiring? Indeed is all you need.
Tape Deck Media.
Hi there, I am Kelly Zimnikas, and I am the host of a brand new podcast called Holler and Wine. I'm a stand-up comedian, I'm a documentary filmmaker, and I genuinely love talking to people. And despite the fact that I do not care for the sound of my own voice, I've got a podcast now. So please come join us. We're going to have really good conversations. We're going to talk about cocktails, and I am going to give my guests a tarot card reading because why not? So join us on Holler and Wine. Hope to see you soon. Well, it's a podcast, so it's hear you soon? That sounds weird.
Ruddle me this, ruddle me that. We got the riddles that'll make you chat. Oh yeah, baseline stuff with the groove is tight. Get your funk on, we're rocking tonight. One more time.
Good morning, Ruddle Maniacs. Welcome back to episode 115 of the Ruddle Me This podcast. I am, as always, your faithful host, Taylor Ruddle. Hope you had a good weekend and you've got some exciting stuff planned for the week to come. I don't have a whole bunch of stuff outside the usual things. The 2 quiz nights, Tuesday nights at Archie Brothers, Cirque Electric in the Hoyts NTX Centre, and Wednesday nights at 6:30pm at Moi Moi. Both quizzes free to play, and we're currently running a competition where you can keep track of your points across the season. And at the end of April, whichever team has the most points, I'm going to buy them a rubber self-inking stamp that says their team name. We are calling it the Stom Prix. You can check out my Instagram page to see a little bit more about that if you're interested. We do have one thing on Thursday. I'd love to see you along at the Austin Club. We have got Christopher Sainton Clark, who is performing his solo show, which is called Tales from a Country Pub. Chris is a comic from the UK who does a few jaunts here and there in New Zealand. He's a very, very funny musical comedian, very talented musician, and his songs are genuinely funny the whole way through. As of this recording, we have about half the tickets still left to sell out, but given that this is dropping a couple of weeks later, by then they might have sold out. So head along to candocomedy.com/ticks and you'll be able to see if there are any tickets remaining. So today's episode is a topic that is kind of near and dear to me. It is talking about the concept of mental health in stand-up comedy. My guest today is a comedian originally from the UK, but now living in California, I believe she said, Paula Jane Newman. Now, Paula has got some interesting sort of, I don't know exactly, it's sort of a comedy movement. She kind of runs workshopy type things, and it's all about the idea of improving your mental health through stand-up comedy. Sounds like an interesting wee experiment there, especially because generally, in my experience, comedians are, how do I put this lightly, they tend to struggle with their mental health. Let's just say it like that. So yes, very much worth a listen, and if you are in the United States, I'll chuck a link to Paula's website, and you can potentially go along to one of her sessions. So as for right now, let's get the interview underway. Please welcome Ruddle Maniacs to the show, Paula Jane Newman. Hello, Paula. Welcome to Ruddle Me This. It's great to have you on.
Thank you for having me.
It's been such a long, I think you signed up with the indication of interest maybe, what is it, a year or 2 years ago, I think, and I have just gotten around to arranging this now. So yeah, thank you for your patience.
Oh, absolutely. I think I put it in for when I was down there trying to do some work. But hey, it's obviously not forgotten because since there's been a change in, I hate to say the word regime, but let's just say US government, and some of the grants that my nonprofit, we might get into it, with healing and comedy, I was trying to find collaborators in New Zealand, right, doing that. When the new government came in, they're cutting a lot of this stuff back. Yeah. So you reaching out tells me my endeavors are not dead.
Exactly. Yeah. So that was sort of going to be my first question, because I think I posted it maybe in like the Auckland comedy group or something. Were you in Auckland at some point?
Yes, I was in November, December 22. I was down there. I have relatives in Auckland, and I took my nonprofit and we did some meditation for single women. Single mothers who were women.
Yep.
That always happens, not always.
Times are changing.
Times are changing. And I did a wee bit of comedy and was attempting to move things as I was going down there. So that's why I had responded.
Wow. It's and then just based on your accent, are you from the UK originally?
Well done. It's funny because I just come back from England, and notoriously, like, you probably know, English people are pretty critical. And so I really surrendered this time, and I just set up all these jokes about my accent and sounding like Bridget Jones, and of course, everywhere I went, no one thought, they were like, so you live in Los Angeles? That's far. I was like, yeah, I've lived in America. Oh, you don't have an American accent. I was like, oh my gosh. So all these jokes bombed because everyone's thinking, no, she sounds English. What are you doing? So that's life, isn't it? Really, best laid plans.
Have you noticed that your accent has changed since being abroad? Because I lived in Japan for about 3 years, and I recently heard a video of myself just before I left, and I was like, oh yeah, something's different about that accent. I don't know exactly what it was, but something changed there.
100%. When I first came to the States, so I was in my late teens, and that was the first time dealing with it. Like, my mum used to know if I was on the East Coast of America or the West Coast of America.
Wow.
Yeah. And when I first moved to America, people didn't understand me. And so I automatically had to slow down my pace and not be so up and so down, flatline it, as it were. And when because I do a lot of voice work with Brits,
cool.
We all do the same thing. When you're with your American family or your friends, you mix it. And in fact, one time I was on the soundstage. I wasn't on the soundstage. I was actually on the lot, right? I think it was Fox at the time, and I forgot that I switch. And so I'm talking English to this person, and they're American because we're working. It was a lunch break. And I just leaned to the barista and said, sort of like a decaf with oat milk. And she looked at me and she's like, what the frig just happened? Where did you go? Are you really English? And it's just so automatic in order to be understood that I switched. And plus, when I first got here, you have interviews with agents, and all they want to know is, can you not do an English accent? And then basically only send you out for jobs that need an English accent. So it's,
Yeah, that is, I remember seeing, it's a British YouTuber. He does like eating challenges, and he was in the South, like I guess it was maybe the deep South of America. And at the drive-throughs, they really struggled to understand him. So he tried putting on his best kind of Southern accent, and it worked. Like first time, they were like, "Yep, got it." So it's It's funny what people are expecting. I think it happened a lot when I was in Japan, is I would say something to somebody in Japanese and they would reply with, sorry, I don't speak English. And I'll be like, That's fine. I didn't speak to you in English." Like, um, and so
Was
it was,
that
yeah,
bad?
they were just, I think it was they saw my face and were expecting English. But yeah.
Well, that's the thing. There are when I first moved. I mean, right now my hair's gone a bit. Um, sorry about that.
No.
Apologize. Sorry, I'm having a moment. You know, when you tell people whatever you do, don't reach out between a certain time,
Uh-huh.
you guarantee you will get lots of calls.
That's the only time they reach out. Yeah.
That's the only time. And now I'm going to have to do the do not disturb. So just expect a knock at the door. I'm just going to do this real quick and remind them.
No worries.
I'm so sorry, because they don't look at their texts until it's relevant to them.
Uh-huh. Yeah. People are great like that. So, what was I going to say? How long have you been over in the States for?
Too long to guess for my age, but it's over 30 years.
Oh, right. So you've been living there for like, right. Okay. What was like what was your kind of inspiration, or your like your kind of the thing that pushed you to head over there? Was there anything in particular?
Well, ultimately, it occurred because my father remarried an American and he wanted to help us get our green card.
Hell
Right?
yeah.
And I felt that I never fit in England. I I I love the land. I love the green. I love the sense of humor. There's the earth of England I love.
Mhm.
The mindset, and I'm going to sound like I'm whining, complaining about it, but I understand from the culture in New Zealand and Australia that, what they call them in Australia, whinging poms.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. And I felt like I could never really be me. There was always some oppression. It's better than it used to be, let me tell you, but you do things a certain way. And like, I have a relative dealing with court issues. You have to go through the Crown and, the magistrate, and then you have to go through the barristers related to the particular solicitor, and you can't go around the solicitor. And I was just like, this is why
Mm.
I understand system and order. I think that's great. But America, the great part about America is try it. Be that entrepreneur.
Yeah.
See if you fail. It's
Yeah.
okay, but try it. And I'm not saying that everywhere in America has that mindset. That's what I was attracted to. And that's like, I know so many people, not necessarily in America now, in Canada or whatever, people doing podcasts, in their late 50s doing it.
Yeah.
Whereas other people going to school. I know someone who's about to enroll in school who's going to be 70 this year, right? To keep the brain active.
Mm.
You don't know, right? Enjoying life fully. And that mindset is not necessarily there in the UK.
Oh,
And
okay.
do things a certain way. You have a certain way. There's a system, don't you
Yeah.
know, Paula? You can't bypass the system. I'm sorry. I thought I would just ask you, as you're someone in the know. We're in the coffee shop. Oh, like, can't we talk person to person? So
Yeah.
that was my biggest challenge, and it's something that riles me because somehow I'm always for the underdog,
Mm.
and a system is primarily designed to keep the top dogs top dogs.
Isn't it just, eh? So then let's talk a little bit about your you sound like you're very passionate about the idea of sort of mental health in stand-up comedy. How long into doing stand-up did you kind of start to notice like, oh, people that are doing this maybe not the mentally healthiest sort of crop of people that you've met?
I will say, and I'm going to spin that question,
Okay.
because I realized from another angle, being an artist or artistically inclined or a performer, go ahead, not expressing oneself is detrimental to one's health,
Mm.
right? And so I had done comedy for about a year and then I quit because at the time I was raising my stepchild who was in middle school, who needed a parent there. And now we know what was going on. There was some diagnosis that, not aware of at the time. And I came up with some bits that really hit home. And if I was wanting to work hard, I could have done that. But I was already making a living in the industry, right? I do improv voiceover work. I was making my living doing that. It was a creative outlet. Thank you. And I went to an open mic, and every male that went up there did rape jokes.
Jeez.
And every woman who got up there, who was picked, it was a mic, was put down. And I took a moment and I thought, is my time worth doing this and sitting in this toxic environment, whereas I have a child that I'm helping to raise? So I stopped. Okay, I stopped. And also I was like, I'm not 22 and willing to hustle for a 2 a.m. spot at the Comedy Store, be a door person, and do all that stuff. I was like that. And again, it's just me. I believe high-level fame is destined. It is destined. If you believe in astrology, it's in your chart. These things are destined. Not making money in the industry, but if you're going to have high-level fame, because everybody who it happens to will say, well, I did this thing and then I fell into it. Right? You can fall into things, but does that project pick up and go?
Yeah.
That's beyond your control. So I felt like, that wasn't my path anyway, and I stopped it. And it wasn't until the pandemic came, I had turned my meditation into nonprofit, and I knew we needed to laugh, and everyone was more aware of mental health. And I felt like laughter can help us. It goes from the fight or flight response to the relaxation state. When you have a deep belly laugh, you are engaging the respiratory system and you reset. When you have a deep belly laugh, when one has a deep belly laugh, one is in neutral. One forgets their problems for the day. So I knew we needed to do that. But what I didn't know, which is what I discovered later on, is that by getting up and being able to speak your truth in a space that's healthy, well received, one can actually unwind some of one's trauma, and people have best results in their life. And I hope it's okay if I just explain that a little bit more.
Yeah, go for it. Yeah, go for it.
So we did the sort of comedy show over Zoom. We had people from different countries and everyone had a great time. And a mate of mine called me the next day and said, why are you not doing stand-up comedy? And I said, look, I'm not 22. I'm not going to be famous that way. I'm not willing to hustle and stay out all night. That, I think it's just a form of expression for laughter. That's it. I've come to terms with, it didn't happen for me in the entertainment industry, right? And they listened, and then they said, but you still haven't answered my question. And I was like, okay. So then we did another live stream where I was more of the MC host, and then I switched into a little bit of a routine, blah, blah, blah. The next day they called me again and they said, so basically, why are you not doing this? Do you understand most people can't slip into that? Don't get me wrong, I'm not this amazing, on the full comedian, but he could see something that I couldn't. So then I thought I would spite him. And there were it was still post-pandemic-ish. There were these calls for online gigs, online headliner radio thing, right? So I started sending off for jobs that I'm not going to get. And I started booking them based off a 2 or 3 minute reel. And what happened was I went into panic. Like, I got to do 45 minutes on a radio thing. What?
Yeah.
And so then I sort of became more friends with them. And then I ended up creating a relationship with these people on the app and a community on it. And I thought, well, at the beginning of the year, this is 2021. I was like, well, what do I want? I just want to express myself, do my 45-minute show. That's it. Maybe there'll be some healing in it. And then I started taking some more classes, meeting good people. And it was anxiety riddled every time I would stand up. I can't sit and write. I have an injury, but also my brain doesn't work like that, being dyslexic and neurodivergent. I have to get up. Like when I was a kid and I would teaching myself maths, right, for the next day, because I couldn't teach and never understood the teacher. I'd look at a book and I'd stand around and teach myself as if I was the teacher.
Nice.
So every time I do any stand-up, I'd have to spend all day on Zoom or my FaceTime recording myself as if I'm doing a set to an audience.
Yeah.
So it's in my body, which ultimately is what open mics is really for. You get that in, except you've got real response, right?
Yeah.
It's that fear that comes. And as I did, I had such anxiety, but I noticed that my body actually started healing from a long-term physical injury.
Huh.
I was able to do more things. And then I got approached by two people separately who were referred to because these people wanted to try comedy and do it in a safe way. So I just had them on Zoom, and I just used my wisdom of being a meditation teacher, being a natural teacher, and my performance experience. And I was blown away. We had a combination. We got a couple of pros. It was a fundraiser for the nonprofit. It had mental health awareness in it as well. And I interviewed them the next few days, and they both had these remarkable interviews of how they have more confidence with who they are. Their self-esteem came up. They were dealing with some CPTSD. And I realized this is beyond the idea of laughter being healing with us laughing in a group conscience. This is a group conscience laughing together, buying a ticket for a cause. So you're helping someone else, and you're there for someone with the first time they perform, and you're asked to be a supportive audience. So you're rooting for someone. You're part of someone's evolution, and that person gets to experience someone laughing or responding in a positive way. Whereas when you're back as a child and one speaks their truth, it's not necessarily, something is always not received well. And we, right, we go into our brain, don't do that, message to self. But that's where the healing begins to happen. Right. And so that's when I started to really create Rise Up Comedy, or Rise Up Comedy Club, where we try to provide a non-toxic environment for pros to see. It doesn't, you don't have to, chill out, bring out the best in you. Don't worry about that. And then watching other people do well opens the heart. And when we open the heart, we're more creative. And that's where, I'll just real finish up. I know you want to say them. That's where it was flipped for me for mental health. And I will answer your other question, but after you ask other questions, because I feel they're brewing in you.
I just was going to say, when you run these Rise Up comedy clubs, is it sort of like the audience and the participants, like you are in the audience and then you go up and do your set or something like that? Is that kind of how you run them?
Yeah, I mean, I prefer people not to be in a green room. But usually I put people off to the side, because we're just doing small rooms right now, because I want them to be part of something bigger than themselves. So one of the things I also do is I have one event, I had two MCs, and I said, part of what you're doing is to be welcoming the audience when they come in and talking to them as they're in the foyer, maybe bidding on auction bids and things like that. How they're doing. One reason, because I want the audience to break that barrier and feel safe when they get on stage, right? And two, also help the performers be able to start, oh, that's some really good fodder that I can actually say. To be present is about teaching people to be present in the moment, right? Now, some people are brilliant at riffing. That's their jam, right? Other people are not. But to have a connection with an audience member beforehand, they now feel part of something bigger than themselves. And often the people who are part of it have a side business or whatnot, or they know someone, so they donate something. And guess what gets bid on more? Whatever the MCs are donating, people start to bid on that because they have a connection to that person.
Interesting. What kind of things do they donate? Is it just like art pieces and that sort of thing?
There have been, but the donation for one of the MCs, they wrote a book.
Oh, yeah.
And so they ended up donating more books because more people wanted to do that. Another one, they offered a meal to be at your house, or they were a chef or a DJ for a party. The other gifts we get, we send off for stuff as a non-profit, you get packages and whatnot. But it doesn't necessarily mean the dollar amount is higher, because there are some higher price items, but more people bid on it. Because they want to know more about that person. So that person gets to promote their side thing too, whatever that might be, or someone they support, and they feel acknowledged, and they're likely to get more followers from my shows because they like them as a person. They've got to know that person's heart versus then do they simply do the stand up. I like an MCs. I like, if I can, to do two, because I like banter.
Interesting.
And I like the person getting up there and then one person's in the audience and asking how they are or what did they bid on, things like that.
Yeah.
It doesn't always, people, not everyone can cope with a two-person banter. It does their head in.
Yeah.
But again, it's about community. So let's have community with the MCs as well, you
Mhm.
know.
So you sort of are you sort of building up like a like maybe roster's the wrong word, but are you sort of building up your own kind of yeah, maybe roster or team of these sort of comics? Are they typically people who have never done stand-up before who do your sort of are they courses? Is that what you said, sorry?
A course or a class,
Yeah.
like it's more than a workshop because you can't do it in a one-day setting. What
No.
I'm teaching the keys to all good comedy is rhythm, percussion. People who are good at music, I would naturally assume would be very good at comedy.
Oh,
And I'm teaching people to find their own rhythm. So the class right now, we do it on Zoom. Right now, the class I have, they're small. Some people haven't done the work, but the real work happens between the end of the class and when we get ready for the show.
yeah.
Anxiety goes up. These are working professionals. I've
Yeah.
also had comedians who want to look at themselves in a new angle. Like maybe they know how to write jokes, but they feel stuck. And being part of the class, even though it might seem below their level, they learn something that they then take in their life that they might not have gotten before. Right?
Yeah.
I I'm gonna, if it's okay,
Yeah, yeah, please.
I'm gonna answer that second part of the question
Go right
because
ahead.
people might switch off. Okay. The reason why I feel there are so many mental health issues,
Hmm.
there are mental health issues in the world, but especially in the world of comedy, is because their self-worth is based on outside validation. And adults are not honest. What do I mean? Take a comedian to a very woke crowd. There may be a fantastic joke that a comedian says about themselves, not woke. They will not laugh.
Oh,
Take children. If it's funny, they're going to laugh.
hmm.
If it's not funny, they're not going to laugh.
Yeah.
They don't know what is or is not funny according to cultural norms. They just know what makes them laugh. In fact,
Yeah.
I try a lot of jokes on my 8-year-old niece.
Ah,
And some of them, of course, they're not going to understand because they're maybe more adult or references to other things. But pure silly jokes, if they're laughing, I know that there's some truth in that.
yeah.
And the reality is, this is why it's so hard with an audience because you don't know where their heads are at.
Yeah.
And
Not at all.
you can go, and this is, people say this is why you do it over and over and over and over again, right? How can you not want to search for that outside validation when the person who hits over and over and over again with certain types of audiences that happen to be there are the ones who are going to get paid, are the ones who are going to the next level,
Yeah.
right? And in a fickle industry, and the arts are always fickle, that validation is not who you are as a human being.
Hmm.
So when there's fighting for stage time, you don't get enough stage time, you can't get enough. When there's fighting for that, when there's fighting to pay your bills, and there's fighting to be in your self-worth with a culture that says, oh, are you doing that art stuff again? Can't pay your bills with that.
Yeah.
And why can't you pay your bills with that? Because it's not deemed that you can make a living with it. If you can make a living with it, right? And I'm not talking about big dollars for
Yeah.
movies. I'm talking about a regular living like it used to be theatre rep. Most people would not be in the arts, right? They'd be like, okay, plod along, plod along.
Yeah.
It wouldn't be seen as somebody's on a pedestal, somebody is not. But because people are seeking this outside validation and they're expressing themselves, and the expression of themselves is not warranted back with outside validation, it drives people potty.
Hmm.
And the world is full of this sickness too. And we are living in a global consciousness
Yeah.
where there's awareness of mental health, but people are being put in positions where they can't pay their bills. They can't just get above paycheck to paycheck, right?
Mm.
Lots of countries around the world And when that's repression is there, no matter how much they want to look at mental health, cannot flip it culturally that your value is not based on your paycheck. It's not based on if you have a house, not based on your spouse, not based on if you have children or not, right? It's embedded deeply into a culture. Be our culture. You must fit in. And this is a global issue. And it's not something I expect will be cured in my lifetime, right? I have raised a child looking at them as a person.
Yeah.
Who are you? But you've also got to fit in this world.
Yeah.
So I can say, it's a pain in the A that you've got to do this paperwork, that you have to call this person up, right? Because they're older now.
Yeah.
But that's part of the world. And what will happen is you'll actually suffer down the line because you haven't just done it. So do it, swallow the pride. If you want to take some action, be part of groups to take action.
Yeah.
You can't change everything, but that's not who you are.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, absolutely. It's it's like you look at you lose your mind trying to think of how do we sort of unravel that, but then you think about it, it's built on, what are we now, 2025, so it's at least 2025 years of money and status being, the thing that sort of makes the world tick. Well, I don't know if it really does or not, but people perceive that it does anyways. So yeah, it's hard to kind of break the tradition, I suppose. But like you say, I guess we can only do what we can do, right? So you sort of just have to focus on your bit, your community, or whatever it is, and then just sort of hope that it kind of spreads through. I don't know if osmosis is the right word, but yeah, I think that what's the old expression, be the change you want to see in the world. So yeah, I think
Exactly.
that's all you can sort of do, isn't it?
Exactly. And that's why it's one heart at a time, one person at a time. And it really is about ourselves, right? So ourselves, all I knew is that by doing this was helping people, and that's what's helping me.
Yeah.
And I understood that doing comedy and my healing work is part of my destiny. It does not mean I am going to make a load of money doing it. It does not mean that's what's going to happen. All I know is I'm supposed to be doing it.
Yeah. Have you ever heard the phrase, it's a Japanese phrase, it's ikigai?
Might have done.
It means, I think it's something like your reason for living. And there's a Venn diagram of like, you can make some money doing it, you feel good doing it, it's better for the world and you're good at it or something. And if you can find the perfect intersection of all these things, then that's your ikigai. And yeah, it sounds like, just from me, what little you've told me about it, it sounds like that might be pretty close, what you've got going on there. So this has flown by. I just got the 10-minute Zoom warming. I'd like to throw some sort of rapid fire questions at you, but so if people want to find out more about what your whole initiative is, I'll chuck all the links in, but where should they go to seek out more information?
Yeah, the easiest way is to go to my personal website, which is paulajanenewman.com. And that should have a link of Rise Up Comedy, because also in Eventbrite is where we list all of the classes that are coming up. And there's awaremeditation.com, which is going to transition over to .org soon, because we got that domain back. Someone took it. And there's also my personal Instagram. You can go on the Instagrams as well, Rise Up Comedy Club.
Fantastic. Okay, let's do some rapid fire ones. Do you have a comfort movie? Or a TV show, some kind of media that you like to put on when you need you just need that sort of warm hug from a movie or a TV show.
Oh my gosh. Yes, I do have. I love Elf.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Do you have a skill that people might be surprised to learn that you have?
Well, okay, when I was younger, I was able to put my fist into my mouth, and that was my skill.
Hell yeah. Okay. Do you have a favorite Wikipedia rabbit hole that you've been down?
Favorite? I'm actually not that behind Wikipedia, I've got to be honest with you.
Fair enough.
But I can't say. I think maybe I've done through a few celebrities that I just got lost in. And I want you to know I can't remember one particular celebrity because I've got in it and then I just got bored of them. And then
Wonderful. Is there a food that you'd like to go back in time and try?
Mm. Well, if there was, it would be some kind of dessert. Let's just put it that way.
I love it. Um, do you have a favorite quote?
A favorite quote of someone else or my own?
Well, so one of the questions is, do you have a motto? So we could sort of do two at once here. So do you have your
Okay.
own motto and then your favorite
Okay,
quote from someone else?
my own motto would be life is 1% event and 99% my reaction to said event.
I love it.
Um, and if there was a favorite quote that I like to use, I watch a lot of inspired quotes, but I do like the one that you said, be the change you want to see in the world.
That's a good one, yeah.
Hmm.
Okay. Do you know what a struggle meal is?
No.
So basically, like when I was a student, I think we've all done it to an extent, but you would make like a ramen, you'd get like a ramen
Yes.
noodles and make it into a sandwich or, that kind of thing. Do you have one that even if you do have money, you would still be happy to make at home?
Okay, so I do this on the reg.
Hell yeah.
It's cheese on toast.
Yeah. Yeah. Classic. What is your favorite kind of cheese to use for that?
Okay, so cheese is my dad. It's definitely it's pathetic. It's organic, raw, sharp cheddar cheese.
Ah, not vegan stuff. It's
Vegan cheese is disgusting.
they haven't figured that out
I
yet, have
know,
they?
but yeah, they have not figured it out. If they did, I would be eating that. One of them is called Dyer, and that's why, because that's how bad it tastes.
That's a great name for it. Um, then I think how long do we have left? Oh, yeah, we got a couple of minutes. So do you think you would survive a zombie apocalypse?
No,
That was a very quick answer.
no, I would make friends with a zombie and then I turn into one. That
Yeah,
I'll be like, well, just go in with the flow. We're all
yeah,
zombies now, so
fair enough.
that's how I'm gonna best make the change in the world is by going with the flow. Yeah, I turn into one of them.
Brilliant. Um, do you have a sick day ritual? Like if you wake up one morning and you're feeling unwell,
Mhm.
do you have any sort of go-to remedies or something to make yourself feel better, anything like that?
Yeah, my sick day remedy is to not talk, believe it or not. Because I used to have some vocal issues. Not talk, steam in the shower, or take an Epsom salt bath. Then have like you probably have a different version of emergency where it's a booster
Yep.
powder thing. Take that. Then if there's maybe like a Lemsip or something like a paracetamol and thing, and then snuggle up and watch telly.
Yeah, that's a great way to spend it. You sort
Mhm.
of get your preventatives there. Like I'm big, I'm at the moment I've got a little bowl. I can't quite reach now, but it's full of different lozenges and everything. Because like you, I do a little bit of voiceover, probably not as much or as professionally as you, but yeah, so I'm always worried about keeping the voice going. And so I'm sort of experimenting with what we can get at the supermarkets and pharmacies. And yeah, I've got my little sort of concoctions over there. I think here we go. Here's another good one. What was the last thing that you really laughed hard at?
Oh, I was watching the SNL 50 show, 50
Ah,
years. There was a couple of skets there that I had the belly laugh at. Hmm.
awesome.
With my favorite, Will Ferrell, of course.
He's great.
And then
I
there was Kristen Wiig doing something stupid, and the two
yeah.
of them just, I love overcommitted, stupid comedy.
I've recently been watching the backlog of all those joke swaps that Colin and Michael Che do, and like some of those you're like, I cannot believe they got away with that on TV. Um, but yeah, that is a really I just love this. You can really see the peril of them
Colin
two
Fer
being
Colin
yeah,
Jost's face. Yes, yes,
yeah.
especially during the pandemic when he's trying to get them to read the email with the N word. Did you see that one?
I don't think I've seen that one, but I will look it
Oh
up after
yeah, he's
this.
trying to get him to read it. He's like, no,
I'm not going to say it.
I'm not going to say it, Michael.
Okay, then the final one. If you could ask anybody from history one question and they had to answer honestly, who would you pick and what would you ask?
I feel like the pressure of the time clock. Um, uh, I think it would be. I would go back and I would ask Margaret Thatcher because I'd want to ask a female leader, right?
Uh,
And that's been the only person who's managed to be there in the UK. I
yeah,
would
I'm fascinated
probably
with Thatcher. Yeah. I think she's a really interesting one.
But she is interesting because she had to go far right. And I would ask her before the dementia, was there a turning point that she knew she was selling herself out and she lost her morals? And when was that?
Oh, that would be I'd love to hear her response.
Was it
to that as
during
well.
the pits, when the pits were closed and all those people lost their jobs? Or was it when you were dealing with the IRA? Like, what was it that you realized you're going to have to sell yourself completely out to stay in power?
Yeah. I'd love to hear the answer to that question, to be honest. I always laugh that they refer to her as Milk Snatcher, I think was one of her detractors' nicknames for her. So yeah, that's a funny one. So okay, we've got about a minute left. So it's been a real delight to have you on the podcast, Paula. I'll chuck all your links and everything in the show notes, and I'll just tag you on socials and stuff when it goes live. So thanks so much for joining me.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. It's been an absolute delight.
Thank you for listening to Ruddle Me This. Don't forget to hit subscribe and leave me a review on your favorite podcast platform. You can find me on social media at Taylor Ruddle Comedy on all the major platforms. You can also join patreon.com/Taylor Ruddle Comedy for free, which gets you access to all sorts of extras and behind the scenes content, as well as allows you to communicate directly with me and let me know what you think of the show. Tune in again next Monday for another episode of Ruddle Me This, and until then, ruddle her out.
This has been a Tape Deck Media production. Thank you for listening.
Hey Ruddlers, I joined a group of podcasters that we are calling the Trailer Alliance, a group of podcasters that share each other's trailers at the end of the episodes and generally support each other. So at the end of each episode for the next few weeks, I'm going to be playing a trailer of one of the members of the Trailer Alliance. And here's one of them now. I hope you like it.
What's up, everyone? This is JJ. Listen, I'm always wanting to try to engage with you all, but some of you are still so shy. Please don't be shy. I'm not going to bite. Hit me up on IG, lifepodcast_84. However, if you don't want to hit me on IG, you want to hit me through email, that's fine. You can hit me at thisisthelifepodcast84@gmail.com. Again, thisisthelifepodcast84@gmail.com. IG, Instagram, hit me, lifepodcast_84. Come on, y'all. Let's be live. Let's be active. Love.
Hello, it is Ryan, and I was on a flight the other day playing one of my favorite social spin slot games on chumbacasino.com. I looked over at the person sitting next to me, and you know what they were doing? They were also playing Chumba Casino. Coincidence? I think not. Everybody's loving having fun with it. Chumba Casino is home to hundreds of casino-style games that you can play for free anytime, anywhere, even at 30,000 feet. So sign up now at chumbacasino.com to claim your free welcome bonus. That's chumbacasino.com and live the Chumba life.
No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. See terms and conditions. 18+.
You just realized your business needed to hire someone yesterday. How can you find amazing candidates fast? Easy. Just use Indeed. Stop struggling to get your job post seen on other job sites. With Indeed sponsored jobs, your post jumps to the top of the page for your relevant candidates, so you can reach the people you want faster. According to Indeed data, sponsored jobs posted directly on Indeed have 45% more applications than non-sponsored jobs. Don't wait any longer. Speed up your hiring right now with Indeed. And listeners of this show will get a $75 sponsored job credit to get your jobs more visibility at Indeed.com/ARTS. Just go to Indeed.com/ARTS right now and support our show by saying you heard about Indeed on this podcast. Terms and conditions apply. Hiring? Indeed is all you need.